Hello and welcome back to this Expat Life. I am joined by a wonderful guest today in the digital studio. I'm joined by Akanksha Singh. And Akanksha is a coachee of mine, and that's why I invited her to the show. She's in one of my group programs. She is a management consultant, originally from India, and now lives in the Netherlands. Akanksha, welcome on the show. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Amanda. I'm glad. I'm just so pleased to be here as well.
Oh, nice. Thank you. So I already introduced you very briefly, but could you maybe share something more about yourself? What brought you to the Netherlands? And also, are you calling in from the Netherlands right now?
Yeah, I am very much calling in from the Netherlands, from my home in Hoofddorp. That's the city. This was like a town a few years ago, I hear, but now this is very much a city in Netherlands. This is where I live, and I came to the Netherlands for following my husband into Europe on an international who was in an international assignment. And then, interestingly, the timing of our landing kind of coincided with the tail end of COVID. And so it wasn't like I sometimes think of it as it wasn't the best timing to land in Europe
Mhm.
because just socially you couldn't really get stuck in, right? And not too many jobs in the market, not enough engagement for somebody who has always just been working and very interested in a career. So, but 3 years on, I have very different things to say about this whole experience and why I would do it all over again.
Nice.
And so yeah, that's me. And then like you said, I'm a management consultant by profession, but outside of work, I'd say just generally I'm a helpful, kind, approachable spirit.
Yes.
So a very girl next door kind of personality.
Nice. I can confirm that. I've known you now for 6 months, and you are very approachable and kind indeed. It's very nice to have you in the group, the next level group that I'm coaching. And maybe that is also a nice start into the conversation that we're going to have today, because you joined the next level expedition about 6 months ago. This is my group program with a really small group, and I'm helping 6 beautiful, incredible, powerful women to their next level in 6 months. And you joined in the beginning of April, and I'm really curious. You were already in the Netherlands for a couple of years at that time. You had already changed your life around after the COVID period that you just described. So, how did your life look at the start of our program or before? And what made you decide to do coaching with me and the others in the group?
Hmm. Interesting question. And I remember at somewhere during the program and after one of our group sessions, saying that whatever was that energy that made me decide to join this group, I want to operate out of it more often.
Hmm.
So, as you say this, what made me join? I'm just reminded of how I felt somewhere during the course of the program, right? Like it was such a validation for the decision that I made then. But yeah, going back to your point, I have made not just one, but two transitions in the last about 3 years.
Hmm.
So I came to the Netherlands, I moved to Ireland, and then I came back to the Netherlands all
Oh, yeah.
in this time space. So which means that I lived in Dublin for a while. And then I came back to the Netherlands. And both very interesting transitions, um, different and then sometimes similar to me coming from Asia. I
Yeah.
could really see similarities, but also differences in the two cultures. And then between from where I am to here, there is a whole a lot of difference, just culturally, and in every possible way, right? I have been through those transitions, and it's not always easy and rosy. It can sometimes, an expat's life really generally can look interesting, glamorous from outside, but it can also feel very chaotic inside,
Yes.
sometimes even lonely. I think I was doing fine, I felt, but then there was this nagging feeling of something not being right,
Hmm.
and something not being in place, and um, and then a lot of self doubt, right? No matter, um, I mean, if I look at it now, I would like to give myself a lot of credit for the two transitions that I spoke about
Yeah.
in the space of time that I did it. And the number of people I met, the interesting experiences I've had in different cities, the amount of travel that I have also packed in alongside all the work that I do.
Hmm.
I would give myself credit for it. But back when I started, there was this nagging self doubt that just wouldn't go away. And I'm not saying it's vanished, but have I made progress? Boy, I have. And I feel so much more at ease with myself. And I think most importantly, the relationship that I have with myself, my own self, has improved so much.
Oh,
um so I think, yeah, that's really been my journey in the last 6 months,
amazing.
and very much a work in progress though.
We all are. I would like to dive a little bit deeper into the start 6 months ago, how you were. You said something wasn't quite right. Was it clear to you at the time what needed to be tackled besides the self doubt? Or was it like an overall
Right.
feeling?
Yeah, thanks for bringing me back to that question. So there were a couple different things there, I think now. One, the self-doubt about my professional abilities,
Mm,
which I shouldn't have been doubting, given the kind of work and experience that I had already put in my career in the past.
yeah.
I had a lot of doubt in terms of what I want to do going forward, and if I have the capability to do it or not. Um, so that's on the career side. More importantly, with my relationships, the closest family that I have, my parents,
Mhm.
what do they want? Whether I agree with that or not. And
Yeah.
if I disagree, and let me then take you a little bit back. Like, the background that I come from is a very small town in India,
Yeah.
in class family, and you know, obedience and conformity was almost like a virtue that I grew up with,
Yeah.
right? So to think that I could have a different opinion,
Mhm.
and for someone like me, like I would say seeking validation and approval was almost second nature.
Mm.
Um, and now when I'm talking to you, I'm just hearing myself, and the fact that I'm saying all of this in past tense, and
Yes.
and was second nature to me. I This is fantastic. I'm also hearing myself say this for the first time. So
Wow.
I think we've substantially moved the needle from there, in terms of how I feel in my career. I have also learned over time. I've also learned the importance of starting, and sometimes even having the humility to start over, to start small. And so, what if I have to start from scratch again? So what if I feel this isn't the job that pays me as much as I would have
Mm.
ideally made by this point in my career,
Yeah.
right? So what if, this isn't looking as great on my resume, as I think it should have. I think it's also taken a lot of humility for to be able to raise my hand up for tasks and jobs and assignments which I felt I shouldn't
Yeah.
be doing at this point.
You raise an important topic because I think a lot of high achieving expats face this problem at some point when they move for their career or they follow their partner, and they don't get the same opportunities as they would have back home. Or maybe it's actually vice versa. They had great opportunities abroad, and when they go back home, they don't exist anymore for them. And it can sometimes feel like a step back for people, whether it's in pay or promotions or opportunities or just I don't know, the cool things you get to do in your job. But I love that you said it's about humility and just accepting, like, okay, this is where we're going to start. It's just from scratch again, and it's okay. And I don't think it's just humility. It's also um, uh, like self empathy, that you can be kind to yourself. And it's not so much caring about the ego, but more just like, as long as I'm happy and I enjoy what I'm doing, that's most important. And the rest, it will come back again.
You're right. Yeah. It's also the ego at play,
Yeah.
which needs a bit of calming down
Yeah.
at times.
Yeah, exactly. So, you already said, like, okay, I speak in the past tense about these things, and that's really a milestone already, I think. So that to me signals that the self-doubt has probably also decreased. You have a better relationship with yourself, as you said. How does that look concretely in your life?
So it can, I think it reflects in a lot of different ways because, and why I said my relationship with myself, because when I'm not accepting of myself, like every relationship that I have outside just sits on top of the relationship that I have with me inside, right? And when I'm in conflict with me, um, it shows.
Yeah.
It shows in almost everything that I do, everyone I interact with. So, to give you an example, it's very simple things like going to a party sometimes, and I like to call myself an ambivert. Like,
Hmm.
some days I have the energy to really surround myself with people, meet a lot of people, have conversation. But on other days, I just want a quiet corner and a book or a
Yeah.
journal, and I want
Yeah.
to write and read and sip coffee and look at the rain.
Yes.
So I could be both, right? But so if I'm not, if I have to go to, let's say, a party or catch up with friends, and everyone's just chattering away, and I feel like, no, I don't have the energy to do this today, I would just quietly sit in a corner, just listen to everyone, and come back and just maybe in the whole evening say a few sentences and just be comfortable with that, which I
Mm.
couldn't before because
Mm.
I would feel so obligated and pressured to participate in the conversation, to make jokes, to be witty,
Yeah,
to be chatty, and kind of make your presence felt that you were here. So I,
exactly.
I just don't feel the need to do that anymore. And that's a very simple example, but even at work, I just recently started a new project. And the first few weeks are usually tough, in the sense that there's a lot of information being thrown at you. Things
Yeah.
are already running, so you have to catch up on everything that's been done before, and then you have to plan for the future. So between all of that, it can sometimes feel like you're being stretched from every possible direction,
Mhm.
right? And there is obviously the need to know the client, to know different stakeholders involved, to also already start building relationships with the stakeholders
Yeah.
involved, right? Just thinking ahead. So you could really feel stretched in so many directions, but um, I can now catch myself, and I'm not saying
Mm.
that there aren't moments when I feel stressed. There are. But in those moments, I'm really able to catch myself and tell and remind myself that I can be kind. I have been here before, I have done this before, and I recognize this from the past. And if I could just be kinder to myself and hang in there for a few weeks, uh, I would just I would get it. Like I would be settled, I would be smashing it. And there
Yeah.
hasn't, and there is no reason for me to worry right now. It's also that I have, I don't know if that's giving others that benefit, and that kindness extends to others as well. But I don't stress myself about, oh, they might be judging me in the first
Mm.
conversation. Oh, first impression is the last impression, right? With a stakeholder. I'm not telling myself those things anymore. I
Mm.
feel like, oh, okay, if this conversation didn't wasn't 100%, the next one will be. Because
Nice.
by then I would have progressed in my understanding of things, in my offering, in how I want to shape things going forward, what I can offer them as a service, etc. So it's also just prioritizing progress over perfection, I guess.
That is amazing. Your new self sounds so confident and kind and sweet, like a best personal cheerleader that you have on your side. Um, am I safe to conclude that maybe in the past, you had these moments at work or at a party that you felt pressure because other people were looking at you or expecting something from you, and so you pushed yourself to be something that you weren't, or to do something that maybe you didn't have the energy for or the knowledge for yet? And is it different now because you are more centered, perhaps, in yourself?
I'd say so. I think that's a fair way to put it, and at least I don't know what they were thinking. I'm not in people's heads, but at least I perceived that they might be judging me.
Exactly. Yeah.
And and then I also then sometimes tell myself, I'm probably not as important. Like that's also just self-importance, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there's an ego again playing there, but but like in a party of 50 people, 30 people, maybe people are just having a good time anyway, whether
Yeah.
you are participating in the conversation or not, right? So
Yeah.
why not just take the space that you wanted to, even if it is a corner.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think actually a lot of people struggle with this, that we fear that people judge us because we're not good enough, or not social enough, or not funny enough, or not pretty enough. Whereas actually most people, they are too busy thinking about themselves. But we still fear their perception of us. And so we put on a mask to be approved or to be good enough. Um,
Yeah,
and it sounds like you've put off the mask and you're super comfortable walking around without it. So that is really awesome. Very nice.
that sounds very relatable. Very relatable.
Nice. It's like the authentic you that is coming out, it seems.
Yeah, I'd still say it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But then I also feel like if I ever came to a point where I feel like this is it and this is perfect and this is where I always wanted to be, then things would get boring.
Ah, yes.
So maybe the fun is really in the process of it.
Yes, it is,
Um,
it is. I can say that as well. And I don't think we are ever done with work on ourselves. I mean, get more comfortable all the time, me as well. Like I used to be pretty shy in groups, and in groups actually I still am. But nowadays, I talk about my life all the time, and I feel more and more relaxed with it. But there's still a tiny part that puts on a little mask sometimes because I'm afraid of what people think. And you just continue working on yourself, and I don't think it ever really finishes, and that's what keeps it interesting indeed.
And
So
it doesn't. And then it's also that in a group setting, that's the really interesting thing, because there are others sharing their journey
yeah,
authentically, their challenges sometimes, their wins.
yeah,
So you get inspired. So, for example, you, Amanda, you were just talking about how you were uncomfortable in groups,
yeah,
and now you are talking about your life everywhere, and you're
yeah,
sharing so openly, and that's very inspiring, right? For a lot of people, and that already can help someone. Um,
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I'm also part of a group program from my business mentor, and I think it took me 8 months for me to raise my hands in one of the group calls. But we're about 200 people, so it's really big. And but the first 8 months, I was just listening to everyone else, and I already got so much value out of these calls because I was so inspired. I didn't feel alone, and this is also what propelled me into action to create a group program in April because I thought I coach so many expats who are so self-reliant. They're so used to doing it on their own. They know how to get things done. They're independent. They don't need anyone holding their hands. And they don't like to be a burden to other people. So they just sit with everything themselves. And plus, their inner circle back home doesn't fully understand the full extent of their expat life. So it's also difficult to share all the nuances. And this is why I thought these people need to get into a group together because there's so much that you can learn from each other, find understanding and recognition with each other, and also really be inspired just by listening to everyone's wins and challenges, actually. So I'm glad you are mentioning this. Maybe about the program, or at least the last 6 months, you've had this really amazing change. I see it from self-doubt and this nagging feeling to now like being so kind and just like, if life is good no matter really what happens. Enjoying the process, learning about yourself. What has enabled this change within you?
What has enabled? A lot of different things, I'd say. It's a combination. One, obviously, my own decision and commitment to work towards it. I think, and to, and every time I find myself drifting, to catch myself and say that rest if you must,
Yeah.
but then carry on.
Yeah.
So, and then just really helpful practical things that I learned by being with the group. So there, one thing is we came from in the group, we came from different backgrounds and different nationalities, and different cultures, personalities,
Yeah.
all of that. But there were common threads. There were challenges that sometimes all of us recognized. So I think just talking about it so openly helped. Seeing how others are following through on their journey helped.
Mm.
But also just very simple, practical things like talking to you about how do you receive more, and how do
Yes.
you start noticing luck in your life, uh, right? And then I remember we had a chat about it, and from then I started developing this practice of noticing luck on a day-to-day basis, and
Yeah.
all the big and small things, like sometimes just avoiding a mishap in the garden, something's falling on my head, and I and I just had a really narrow escape. I would
Yeah.
even notice that sometimes the bus, oh, I was late and the bus was late too, and thankfully I got it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got on board on time. It's all these little things on a day to day, or the bridge opened as I was just pedaling through and had
Yeah.
to make it to my next appointment in time. All of those little things, but equally the big ones, like some a job that I wanted, or somebody that I wanted to work with. Uh, they called me back and said there may be a future opportunity. So just feeling grateful for all of those things, and I feel like I wouldn't notice them before. They
Yes.
were before my eyes.
Yeah.
Somehow I wouldn't see them,
Yeah.
but
And
I
can I give
have a
some
gratitude box. Yeah.
yeah, can I give some top subtitles for the people who are listening or watching? Because we came to talk about this topic because we were talking about hard work, and you had achieved something really nice, but you weren't super proud of it because you said it's just luck. Like I didn't, and we started talking about it more, and it was this belief of like, but I didn't work hard for it, so I can't really be proud of it. And this is when I stopped you and other people, and I've noticed it in myself as well because I thought, can we also just receive the good things in our life? Or can we only be proud of the things that we personally have worked for so hard? And can we also just accept that sometimes there is just luck involved and it's ours to receive? So I think this is super valid for a lot of the high achievers who are so used to this hard work, um, and cannot be proud of the things that they haven't worked hard for themselves, but they can be happy about it and be proud of it as well. And so this is when we started to speak about it, and you asked me to how do I receive more? How do I accept the luck more? And I told you, or I suggested to you to be more mindful of these little things, and you created this box that you were just mentioning. So what
Right.
do you do?
Yeah. Yeah, and I post just little tips with, I scribble almost every night. I scribble when I was lucky during the day.
Mhm.
And like I said, it's just day-to-day things sometimes. It's not always the biggest wins.
Yeah,
Sometimes there is something bigger, but oftentimes it's these small things. And they make it kind of makes my day. I mean, I do this mostly at night, but
nice.
it but it really is a nice closing to my day when I and there's inevitably some one or another thing that makes me smile, even if really small. It definitely makes me smile,
Yeah,
and I just have these little post-its going into that box every day, and I wonder if someday I'm going to open it and
yeah.
pre- few years later, if I start reading it, what would be my reaction to it?
Yeah, I'm curious too. You've gotta let me know. So, maybe speaking about these practical things and the program and the last 6 months of coaching, what was the nicest, best, most helpful exercise or tool that we use in the group program?
Yeah, and this was a so there's something that immediately popped in my head. So I'm going to just use that as an example. I'm sure there were loads of interesting activities and tools, and but this one popped first. So I'm going to talk about this.
Yeah,
So this was a group activity, but I wonder if people can really try and notice this and do it on their own as well. But so in a group we had one person visualizing their dream, and then everyone else had a role to play and just kind of be that inner voice or that inner
yes.
critique, and say things like, you don't have it in you to become your next level, or to become what you or
Yeah,
to achieve your dream, whatever dream that may be, and in different ways, that you don't have, you are an imposter, you don't have it in you, etc. And I think that's so real.
yeah,
uh, we do that to ourselves all the time. There are these inner voices which and we are constantly questioning our abilities,
yeah,
and it, because it came together in the exercise in such a way that it became so real,
yeah,
as to how much stress we are putting on ourselves, right? I think that was a really powerful exercise, and maybe that's why I often now just catch myself when I hear my inner critique. I
yeah,
recognize it and I catch myself,
yeah,
um, and remind myself
yeah.
of why I'm not listening to those voices, at least not today.
Yeah, exactly,
Sometimes I tell
exactly.
myself, not today.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do this tomorrow, but not today.
Yeah, very good. This exercise for everyone who's listening, like it's very easy to, if you do this on your own, to just be like, yeah, that's my inner critic and he says that kind of stuff. Okay. And that's just a rational approach to understand it. But you don't really enable a deeper shift with it. And what we did with this exercise is that there was one person who was sharing their next level dream. And then we asked this person to write down all the inner voices that she was hearing inside her head, criticizing her ability to reach the next level. And then each of you all voiced these inner voices. So there was one person saying, "You are not enough. You are not enough." And another was like, "Oh, you'll never get there anyway." And like there were 5 voices that were doing that. all at the same time, all with their own like intonation and stuff. And so for the person who was then listening to it, it was like, whoa, this is all going on in my head. And it became so visible. And not even for the person who was listening. I think it was also for the people who were voicing these voices, like also a little shock, like, oh, I do this to myself as well. And by actually giving spoken words to these voices, they become more real. And so you feel the impact way more that it has on you. And so you become much more aware of it than if you just sit with it on your own and you look at it through a rational approach, analyzing it. And so this is why I put it in there, because I really want you, and I do that with all my coaches, to experience something in the body through noises or motion or something else, to feel, oh, this is actually what's going on inside of me, and I don't want that. So, this needs to change. So I am so happy to hear that you catch yourself still and are like, no, not today, at least not today. This inner voice doesn't have a place for me right now. That's really cool. Glad to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really glad that you came on the show. It's so nice to talk to you about your change, and we've spoken about this in the group program as well. Like often it is not about these big bold moves that everyone thinks change is about. It's actually in these really small shifts of how you change your energy, how you interact with people, how you take away your self-doubt and replace it with confidence, that eventually enable the real change in your life. And every month I asked you about your wins, and so often all of you shared like tiny things, tiny tweaks, small shifts that were actually the biggest wins for all of you, because they have been there for decades. The way of like the self-doubt has probably been there for decades for you. And so to be able to change that, that's actually a huge win. And this is going to enable so much personal success and professional success going forward. So it was always really nice to hear these small shifts, but really inner big wins, actually. Um, so yeah, thank you for sharing your experience. And I always ask one question at the end of the interview, and I didn't send this question to you in the preparation, so I'm going to put you on the spot. And that is, since
Bring it on.
yes, the new confident you. Um, what is your number one hack for living abroad? It can be a
Hmm.
product, a mindset thing, a habit, something else. But what is your number one tip or hack for living abroad?
Yeah, I think it has to be step out of your comfort zone, or just be curious about things, because unless you really expand your life into the new, you will not not feel at ease for sure. And by stepping out of your comfort zone, I mean, like, sometimes you might find that you're used to, in your home country, you're used to doing things a certain way, taking the taxi only, right?
Yeah.
Taking public transport only. Like,
Yeah.
try different modes of transport, try different kinds of local stores, and try going to a lot of different places and cuisines, I would say. So unless you just expose yourself, and initially it feels very uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Some days I question myself, why am I going to a place where I don't know what I'm doing here, right?
Yeah.
And why am I meeting someone? I don't know what I will get out of that interaction. But do those things anyway. Uh, because if you really wanted a full experience of the new, you just have to do things that feel unfamiliar and
Yes.
uncomfortable at the start, and that's the only way for you to get comfortable with those. So,
Yes, I love it. Yeah, this advice applies to everything, I think, in life, not just living abroad. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you, Akanksha, for being here. It was lovely talking to you. And yeah, I hope to see you soon again. We have a reunion session still, or goodbye session. So I look forward to seeing you there. And thank you again for
likewise.
being on the show.
Likewise. Thanks a million. Thanks for having me.
That was such a lovely interview with Akanksha. It was so nice to have her on the show. And actually, we were just chatting afterwards, and she told me that she forgot to say that something that she really learned throughout the program was to take up her space. Whether it was in relationship with close ones or with a senior stakeholder at work, instead of making her small, as she often did, she is now learning to take up her space. And I really, really love that, because I actually coach a lot of people who struggle with this, taking up their space, in all kinds of relationships and contexts. And so to hear that she's really doing that, I was like, yes, you go, girl. So that was really nice. If you are thinking, oh, I would actually like to join a group program as well, because I want to enable all of these shifts inside of me too, then stay tuned, because I will host another group program soon. And if you sign up for my weekly airmail, you will be the first to receive the notification that the group program is going to start. And as always, also a discounted rate to get in. So if you are not yet on my airmail, please sign up, and you can use the link that I put in the show notes, and you will receive not only a notification when the new group program comes out, but also a weekly airmail, always with inspiring stories and practical tips to live your best expat life from the inside out. All right, have a lovely day wherever you are, and talk to you soon again.